Hello, everybody. Are you all right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Well, yeah, the host is a hero sitting here right now in his blue scrubs. So thank you, Chris.
Yeah, it feels a bit like the two Ronnies. It's sort of good morning from me and good evening from you.
It is, yeah.
Pitch black and 10 to 3 in the morning here at the minute on my break.
For those who listen to the podcast and are not aware yet, so I'm City Dave, and I actually from Manchester, but now live in Portland, Oregon, 5,000 miles away. So for Chris, it's early hours of the morning. It's actually 6:50 in the evening here for me. So we're 8 hours behind. So fair play to Chris for doing this podcast.
10 to 3 in the morning on my break. Can't believe it. Yeah, we've been discussing on the in the group, haven't we, about City's transfer policies recently, and how we never seem to be able to get a decent deal on any player that we have. I have been looking over the figures since the takeover. And I'll just ask you the question. So I'll let you have a ponder throughout the podcast.
Okay.
Just as a whole figure, how many millions of pounds do you think City have lost since the takeover on players?
Specifically on transfers?
On transfers alone. So I've only included the ones, basically, from when we got taken over.
Yeah.
The whole Robinho £32.5 million signing.
Okay.
So this season, with the likes of Rodri and Cancelo.
Yeah.
All the players we've bought and the ones that we've sold. So some we've made a loss on. We have made a profit on, I think it's about 3 or 4 players in that time.
Yeah.
Some have gone for nothing. Some have gone for a fraction plus players. But I have totaled it up. I haven't included the likes of, like Mui and some of the players who we kind of bought, never played them, and then they left for nothing. So it's mainly the main players. But yeah, if you can have a think. And
I mean, I'm going to say a minimum of 300 million. A minimum.
A minimum. Well, it's certainly more than that.
I mean, that's the thing. More than 400 million?
More than 400 million.
Please don't tell me more than £500 million.
No, it's not quite that much. If I'll tell you what, I'll put you out your misery, because then we could probably discuss and break it down more. It's 422,770,000. That figure has come from transfermarket.co.uk. It breaks down all the ins and outs, loan fees, everything. That's how much we've lost. Over 422 million since the takeover.
That's, for me, is unacceptable. And what I've been saying, and you've been pretty much my biggest supporter, Chris, over the last week as we've been going through this on our MIB chat, is that I don't think we're hard enough in our negotiations when we are selling players. That I was kind of joking around yesterday, and I was saying we need a bit more of a Daniel Levy in charge of our sale transfer policy.
Yeah.
I don't have a massive problem about our buys. I think we do well with those. We've definitely got this strategy. I think of we're looking for players who have got a transfer clause in their contract. Rodri's a good example of that. Excellent player, 65 million-ish. Yeah, we can take that. I think City always get out of there when it's a bidding war. I don't think we'll ever get into those. That's why we lost out on Maguire. That's why Sanchez never came to us. So from a purchasing standpoint, I'm not too fussed. What I've always been annoyed about is our dealings when we are selling players, and that just floors me. That 450 million that we've lost in transfers, when I don't feel personally it needs to be that bad. If you'd have turned around and said a couple of 100 million, I can kind of get it, because we've got the experience. We've got the best out of those players, and then we've moved on. But a lot of the times, you know, I kind of looked before I jumped on the call at, you know, an Adebayor or a Tevez. You know, those two spring to mind. You know, we buy them in for big money. They're still playing really well, and then we sell them for peanuts. I think Tevez went to Juventus for 12 million, and I know we never really knew what the Tevez figure was. You know, there was some people saying it was for as much as 47 million. Whatever way we look at it, we lost money on a deal on a player who's one of the best in the world. And why are we selling him for 12 million? Same with Adebayor. 5 million, I think we got for him in the end when he or 7 million when he eventually went to Spurs. And it's, I don't know, it just frustrates me more than anything else about City that how is it when we look at our noisy neighbours, when they have some player who's actually bang average, that they seem to be able to get absolutely top whack for him just because he's, I don't know, come through the United Academy or he's, you know, had a couple of good games. They always seem to get top whack. And for some reason, there just seems to be this thing about City, however good that player is, we undervalue them and we just go, yeah, all right then, yeah, just give us 12 million for Tevez, that's fine. Yeah, I know he's one of the best players in the world, but yeah, that's fine. You can have him for 12. So we lost arguably 30 million on that deal when really what we should have been looking for is a good 30 million for a player like that. And I don't understand the philosophy of City with it, and I don't think you do either.
No. I mean, the way I'm seeing it at the minute, it's almost like City's running a charity shop. We're happy to take pretty much anything and everything, thinking, oh, we can make a bit of money on it. And then you get something really good in, and we're throwing it away. I mean, you mentioned Tevez and Adebayor. Tevez we got for 25.5 million, Adebayor for 25. And I know Adebayor had that awful incident on international duty, which I think really, quite understandably, it really did shake him up a bit.
Yeah.
And I don't think he ever quite achieved as well as he could have done after that incident. I know he retired from international duty after that, but he was still capable of scoring goals. He was still capable of putting a shift in. We sold Tevez, like I said, according to the sources, Tevez went for 8.1 million and Adebayor for just under 6 to Spurs. And yeah, you picked up on those two. We lost, like you said, just over 30 million between the two of them. Julian Lescott was another player we bought that year for 22 million. He went for nothing. Went for free. And it's, I mean, the one player it hurts me even now. It's James Milner.
Yeah. Oh,
James Milner.
Completely agree with you. Yeah.
16 million plus Stephen.
Oh. Well, we're still going, but Chris has completely frozen. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Hopefully he'll be able to log back in any second. Yeah, no, you're back.
I'm back. Sorry.
You are back.
Playing NHS Wi-Fi for that. You know, but yeah, I was just saying that James Milner, he scores penalties for fun. He's got a Champions League winners medal. He's doing a fantastic job at Liverpool. He's one of those players that can literally play in any position you want him to. And we threw him away. I don't think it was just the fact that we undervalued him. I think we, in a way, disrespected him almost. We didn't want him enough. And he'd been a tremendous servant, him and Gareth Barry. But players like Craig Bellamy went for free. It's different with players like Vincent Kompany, Zabaleta, David Silva at the end of this year, who were, I mean, their careers at City came to an end, same with Yaya Toure.
Yeah.
And they bowed out gracefully. But Colo Toure, Santa Cruz, Lescott, all these players going for nothing. Jesus Navas, Maicon. We paid £4 million for Maicon, and he was already past. He was well over the hill when we got him. didn't really do much for City, and then we just let him go.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to throw £4 million away, go down the road to Bury and say, there you go, keep yourself running for the next few years. You know, do something good with it, not just piss it up the wall to some retiring old man from Brazil who plays for bloody Serie A teams. It's ridiculous. And I agree with what you're saying on the transfers that we're buying in. I'm glad we didn't get Maguire because he's not worth £80 million of anybody's money.
No, he is not.
Alexis Sanchez, if he thinks he's worth £50 million, I'm Gandhi because he's bobbins. I didn't reckon much to him at Arsenal. I thought he's very much like a Pogba kind of player. I think he thinks he's better than he is. I'd look at other players that we bought, and again, Mahrez is the one for me that I think, why did we spend £60 million on him? He's okay as a player, but we didn't, at the time when we bought him, we didn't need him. We were scoring goals left, right, and centre. We were creating chances. We needed defenders and defensive midfielders, but we spend £60 million on a player we don't need.
Yeah.
And the more and more I look through the players that we have signed, there's a recurring theme that I seem to be looking at. So, I mean, just plucking names out, players like Gareth Barry, you know, he was amazing for Aston Villa. Same with James Milner. Julian Lescott, he was good for Everton. You have players like that. We always seem to go for the best player at a small club. Yaya Toure, I think, was a fantastic buy, but he wasn't a key player for Barcelona.
No, he wasn't.
He was a very good player.
Go otherwise, yeah.
Exactly. You buy him, and it's like he's really good from a good team, but he's not he's not the best in their mind. When you have Xavi and Iniesta playing, he's sort of second fiddle to them. Instead, we're going for talisman players from lower teams. I mean, Mahrez is a perfect example at Leicester. Bonny at Swansea City. To teams like that's the best player in their squad. They're not going to let them go for cheap. So we're spending a fortune trying to get them. They turn up, they don't do anything particularly amazing, and then we're flogging them on for peanuts. And it's sad in a way because it just seems it's not just the figures that are bad. I mean, obviously from a financial fair play point of view, when you've got UEFA down our throats every 5 minutes, another team saying we just throw money around, I feel sorry more for the players. I mean, my mum's from Neath, so I've followed Swansea for the last sort of 10, 15 years as a side team. Bonny was brilliant at Swansea. He came back the other season and he was crap. And all his confidence had gone out of him, which, with what happened at City to him, you can't blame him.
No.
And it's happened to other players. I mean, Stevan Jovetic, Savic, you know, all these players, they all came with promise. And they never lived up to the transfer fee we were paying.
No, well, one of the big ones for me is Jerome Boateng, who Mancini brought in. And we actually made a tiny bit of money on him, I think.
We did.
But it's the fact that, how did we let him go? Like, was he that bad that he left? He went to Bayern Munich, one of the best clubs in the world, a World Cup winner, serial winner with Bayern Munich, one of the best defenders in the world. Well, surely he was that at City. I don't understand how we could let Savic is the same way. He buggers off to Atletico Madrid and becomes one of the best central defenders in the world. That's another bit that drives me insane, that a lot of the time we'll buy talent, going, yeah, it's fine. No, we'll just sell you on. And, you know, how much do we need right now? A Boateng or a Savic or a Nastasic playing for us, you know, right now?
Well, that's it. It's the key player. I mean, Boateng as well. He can play anywhere pretty much along the back. Yeah. As well. Obviously, central defence is his main thing, which is what we need. But I mean, like you said, we made just over £1.5 million profit on him. But again, is the money really that important when you look at the same year? You know, we're getting rid of players like we bought Kolarov in. Kolarov was 19 million. We sold him for just over 4.
Yeah. And what was Dzeko? How much did we lose on Dzeko?
We lost 23.1 million on Dzeko.
And how many times do we say on podcasts about
we need
how much we love to play like that back? You know, and he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And he's
no.
How many goals has he scored for Roma? I mean, I think he's the Serie A top scorer for the last 3 seasons or something, isn't he?
I'll have a look at that actually while I've got the computer up. But I always remember, because the best thing about Dzeko, I felt, was, yes, when we were playing a team, you know, your typical sort of Wolves teams, things aren't going well, you need something different. He was the player who could come on and you just ping the ball up to him and he'd find the net.
Yep. Absolutely.
I remember him against Tottenham and he started the game and he put 4 in.
Yeah, you know what? Funnily enough, I actually watched that game last night. I'm like, it's like 7 minutes on YouTube. I'm just going to watch it because it's one of the best games of it. It was Nasri's debut, and a couple of balls he put in for Dzeko for a couple of his goals were just sensational. I'm looking at that now. He's actually scored more goals for Roma than he has for City now in the same number of appearances.
I mean, obviously you have to admit that it helps with the league that he's in. It's a lot slower. He's more time on the ball, and he's probably starting games. But I've just looked at this season: 25 games in the league, 7 in the Europa League. He's got 12 goals and 6 assists in the league, and 3 of each in the Europa League.
There you go.
So, I mean, 15 goals and 9 assists in all competitions. He's played 32 games. And he's responsible for 24 goals.
And that's the point I come back to, Chris, that he's got pedigree, you know, if you kind of look at his time at City. So I'm getting here that he 72 goals in 189 appearances. Brilliant. Wolfsburg, 85 in 142. You know, he scored goals all the time. So why are we... I don't mind if there's a strategy in place for selling a player. I get it. I understand. But why sell him so cheaply?
Yeah.
Because Roma just must have been rubbing their hands when they were like, okay, sorry, you're going to sell him for what, 6 million did we get for him or something stupid?
Yeah,
like, they must be just rubbing their hands that, all right, well, we've only got a deal with City's representatives and they're a walkover. And that's what annoys me, that we're just getting walked over in transfer negotiations when it comes to a sale. That, you know, the one that has kind of started off this real conversation that you and I have been having is when, you know, we find out a couple of days ago, and we don't know if this is true or not, but it probably is, that this potential transfer for Cancelo to go to Barcelona, and we're getting Semedo. But lo and behold, we have to give money to Barcelona for... Apparently, Cancelo is the world's most expensive right-back right now. Yeah. So Barcelona are saying to us, okay, well, not only do we want the world's most expensive right-back to come and play for us, but we want money from you as well if you want Semedo. And right now, I think Manchester City will go, yeah, okay, then that's fine. And it actually should be the other way around. We should be turning around to them and saying, no, if you want the world's most expensive right back, we'll have Semedo. And you know what? Piqué's coming towards the end of his career at Barcelona. Can we take him as well, please? We'll have him for a couple of years at City. So I just want us as a club to be not walked over in these negotiations all the time. And I can go back to the 90s. I had it out with Dennis Stewart once at a supporters club thing years ago. It was when Stuart Pearce was manager, and they had Distan on the panel as well, and they had sold Anelka for 7 million. And I stand up and I say, Dennis, we bought him for 12. We're selling him for 7. He's one of the best strikers in the league. Why aren't we getting more money for him than that? And it was just, the answer was, well, it's just the market value right now. Well, no, do a better job at selling that value of the player rather than just going, okay, then.
Yeah. You need someone like a Derek Trotter on the panel trying to sell players, because that's it. How can the market value for our players be decreasing when we're winning trophies left, right, and centre? The price of everything in the world is going up.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you sit there and justify, like you said, just making such a loss on? And he was a good player. He scored loads of goals for City, and then he carried on scoring when he went on. And again, Edin Dzeko's prime example. He's 34.
Yeah.
And he's still doing the job. And it's, like you said, that's the one thing that we really desperately need at the minute. I mean, the QPR game said it all. We're 2-1 down. We desperately need a goal. Him and Balotelli come on, and who got the first goal? It was him. To make it 2-2. So the evidence is there. I know, obviously, Pep, he likes his particular way of playing, but when other teams counter that, you have to adapt and you have to have a plan B.
Well, the funny thing is, isn't it, that we got, as City fans, we used to get annoyed so regularly at Pellegrini for only having a plan A. And when his plan A didn't work with these brilliant players he had at his disposal, he just looked like a deer caught in the headlights. He didn't know what to do. And you would expect that Pep Guardiola, being arguably the finest coach in the world, would have that plan B. In fact, it's Pep Guardiola. You'd think he'd have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. And he doesn't seem to. I think you're exactly right, Chris, that it's beautiful the way that we play football. Beautiful. But when that doesn't work out, and more teams are working us out now, that's one of the reasons why we're 20-odd points behind Liverpool and we're losing at home to teams like Wolves, is because we're beginning to get worked out the way that we play. And Pep needs now to show that he can actually play a different style of football and get us the result. And if that means bringing a big man on like Dzeko and playing it in the air, then I think he's got to kind of look at himself and, yes, I want to put, what's more important, the beautiful game or getting the 3 points?
Yeah.
And it's actually getting the 3 points.
Make prizes.
Yeah.
So
how many times he joked as well that, not that they ever would, but Pep's always kind of saying, I'm going to get fired if I don't win, 2 trophies this season, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but, he knows himself this is a results business. Results first, beautiful football second.
Yeah. If you can get both, then that's great, but I think that's the way it is with City at the minute. And I mean, I'm trying to stay clear away with my opinions on Pep, because that's a whole podcast in itself, I think, to be honest. But he like I said, the Wolves game said it all for me. We went a goal down, a man down with the sending off. We managed to get it to 2-0, and you're thinking, wow, with 10 men winning 2-0, and then it all just fell apart. He brought on an extra defender, took one of our only outlets off, and it was like, okay, Pep's got plan B, and it's all defensive. This isn't going to end well, and it didn't. And the only good thing about that night is I won 40 quid, because as soon as it kicked off in the second half and I saw what he'd done with the subs, I was like, right, putting my money on Wolves to win, and lo and behold, they went and won. So I was rubbing my hands, because I thought, look, if I'm going to be depressed at the end of the night, I'd rather be depressed with 50 quid in my back pocket than nothing at all.
No,
but going back to what you were saying about the the way we are with the transfers, it's almost like saying, right, take someone who's got a £180,000 Aston Martin. He's going to go, he's going to go down to the Jaguar dealership and say, right, I just want an 80 grand car. Here you go. Take mine as part exchange. I'll give you 50 grand. You give me that old thing over there.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. It's common sense, and it should be that. And did you see any of the series on Amazon Prime? The following City behind the scenes.
All or nothing. Yeah, absolutely brilliant show.
I've not managed to get around to watching all of it yet. I was watching a bit with my dad just before Christmas, and I remember a particular scene where you've got the guys in the boardroom looking at transfer targets, and they had like Van Dijk and some.
Yeah, I know exactly the bit you mean. Yeah.
I was sat there thinking, with all due respect, I mean, these are massive, massive people in the industry. And I was sat there thinking, what a pair of dickheads. They've got Van Dijk and whoever else, they've got these players up on the board and they're saying, well, what about this? And they were trying to do all the analysing. Hold on a minute, sweetheart. You've got Scouting Network and some of the best scouts who have gone and collated this data for you. They have done all that. You should be speaking to Pep. Maybe speak to the players in the team and see who they, because they all know each other outside the game. Especially at international level, they might be playing with them. I mean, you could have played with them at other clubs. You may have seen them at international level. You'd speak to the players. Who do they think they can get along with and work best with? Get their opinion and then just go and get it. You shouldn't be faffing around. And by the time they've sat and had the little committee meetings with the tea and biscuits, the moment's passed and they've lost out.
Yeah.
And it seems to be happening time and time again. And I think I mentioned it in the group chat. To me, there's key areas of the squad that we know needs to be addressed. Every City fan who turns up every week, City fans around the world who are sat there listening on the radio, they know what positions we need. We knew Company was leaving. Even before that, we knew we needed a centre-half, which is why we got Laporte in. But knowing Vincent Kompany was going, we know that's one we need to replace. We knew we needed to get a defensive midfielder with Fernandinho getting on. And now, in my opinion, we know we need another striker because Aguero's probably going to be here for a season at best.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
Get them in now. Get them trained in. Get the deals done. I don't understand why we have to wait until the transfer window opens either. What's the point in that? It's like I can look on, I'm into gaming. If a game's due to come out in a few, great. It's you can pre-order it now. Great, I'll do that, and then it's done. I don't have to worry about it then. I don't have to worry about, I've got the money. Right, let's go see if I can buy it. Oh, they've sold out. No, you get it done in advance, and we did that with Gabriel Jesus. We've done that with this Jan Couto or something, the right back.
Yeah, I'm really excited about him too.
Yeah. I like how Brazil do their the rules with Brazilian players, because I don't know if you know, but any Brazilian player that's playing in Brazil, like this lad we bought, and same with Jesus, they're not allowed to leave the country until they're 18 to play for another club, which it stops them becoming homegrown players in another country, and it makes it so it's, if they're good enough, usually the Brazil squad's already noted who they are, and they're not losing out on players.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me, that.
It's like I said, it is common sense, and that's probably one reason why English football's so crap and they never win anything. It's because we don't have that quality of player, and they're not appreciated as much.
Agreed. Yeah, but yeah, we never seem to have any, any dealings that we've ever had with Brazilian clubs. In my memory, always seems to have gone pretty decently. I can't see any. I think, did we buy Joe? No, Joe was from a Russian club, wasn't he?
But yes, I think CSKA Moscow, I believe it was.
Yeah, he was actually. But yeah, Jesus and this new lad, there never seems to be any real issues over it. It just seems to be very, very plain sailing. But it's with other European clubs where we just seem to get into absolute knots and always come out second best. And that's the point I was making on our group chat before, that we are the second richest club in the world, you know, which would suggest that we're really good businessmen. Like, why can't we do a good sale transfer? Why can't we do it? And that's it. It drives me insane, and it has done for 30 years. Well,
yeah,
I'm an old man at 40 plus years, but you know, as soon as I started going in season ticket holder at City from like 89, 90, you know, and I see these players come in and go, you know, Gary, I'm going back a long time, Chris. You might just remember Gary Flitcroft.
Yeah, he went to Blackburn for.
We got 3.4 million for him, and it should have been more, and we only got 3.4 because we got relegated. Yeah. And Blackburn went, all right, well, they're going to need the money. And I mean, we snapped their hand off, but that's what I was saying on the group chat the other day, that, I mean, that should have been 5 million. That was a homegrown player, good player as well, Gary Flitcroft. And we should have got more. And as a homegrown player, we should have dug our heels in as well and said, hey, no, he's City born and bred. We want more than that. You know, the player who saved us is Sean Wright-Phillips. And even then, I think we should have got more from him. If you think at the time, Sean Wright-Phillips was basically the best English player in the Premier League. Easily. And the most exciting and the best prospect. And yeah, 25 million's a lot of money. But I think Chelsea knew, again, God, City are on their arse here. They're going to, if they don't accept this, they're going to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
They did it. Did you read that article the other day about Sweet?
Yeah, he didn't even want to leave.
The train down to London. Didn't want to go. Yeah. Because he didn't realise that it was just, well, we just need the money, Sean. We don't want you to go anywhere. But it's just that thing again of, why can't we get top dollar for our players when we need to? It's just always been an Achilles heel for Manchester City Football Club.
I mean, going back to obviously players like Flitcroft, I mean, the big one, I know you've mentioned it before, is King Clancy. I remember that day at Stoke, and he left the pitch in tears. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. He was a big hero for many City fans, especially the young players, and especially for me, because I was made to do ballroom dancing as well, like he was when he was younger. So I understood that whole everything that he was. That was like, that's what I want to be. And £5 million was absolutely nothing. But you can almost forgive the powers that be in those days, because we were strapped for cash. We were getting relegated. You know, we did need the money. The players wanted to be recognised and playing at the top level. So fair enough. But now the everything's changed. It's a whole different ball game. We are one of the best teams in the world. We are fighting for everything. No other club has won every single domestic trophy in one season. We've done it. We broke records in the Premier League. You know, we're doing things left, right, and centre. We're fighting on all fronts, and we are a team that people now recognise throughout the world. We should be, like you said, we should be selling players for at least half what we paid for them.
Yeah.
At least. And even then, that's still a big loss, but it's better than what I'm looking at, looking at some, like I said, the amount of players that are going for nothing. Even Roque Santa Cruz went for free. We spent 17 million on him. That's just
million. Yeah. And that's, and that's what I've been saying in group chat. This isn't about, a lot of the pushback has been, well, we got them off the wage bill, and it saved us money that way, or, their attitude wasn't right and they didn't want to, they didn't want to be at City. I get all of that, but this player power has to bloody stop. We're in charge, It's the only two people who should be in charge are the chairman and the manager.
Yeah.
Not the player. Was Vincent Kompany bigger than the club? No, he wasn't. And he would be the first to say that as well. And I just want us to get better at maximising the value of the players that we want to sell. That's all my argument is. Like, to your point, if we're going to sell Dzeko, fine. But look at his record at City. 130 games, 82 goals. So I think it was 29 when we sold him. So, okay, Roma, if you want him, we paid 25 million, 30 million for him. We want 15 million from you, Roma, for Dzeko, because he's won tons of trophies at City. He's banged in loads of goals, and he'll do the same for you. But what do? We sell him for less than 7, was it?
No, 9.9 million. We paid 33 for him and got 9.9 back.
It's just not enough.
He was still doing a job at City. It's all right if a player falls out of favour with a manager, or a player's like they can't compete in our league anymore because of an injury or something. But he was still scoring goals. He was still doing the job that he'd always done at City.
Yeah.
And he could have continued to do that for at least another 2 years. But it's going back to that player power. It's something it could be just naivety. I don't know. I can't get my head around it. At the end of the day, they are employees of the club.
Yeah. Well, I think it was your comment about Zane earlier today, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. It's like, luckily, the position we're in now, we can afford the wages and not worry about it. I mean, we sent Tevez playing golf in South America for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Sane doesn't want to play for the club, but he's going to be this much of an arse about it, well, fine. You can go at end of next season, end of your contract. You can go for nothing. What sort of player is he going to be if he's just sat doing absolutely sod all and hasn't played football for 12 months? And I think I mentioned it on a previous podcast actually about Sane, because obviously working in hospitals, I work with some of the consultants at Wrightington, and it's soft tissue. And I've had an ACL injury myself. I know what it's like. And with the best will in the world, the best surgeons, the best technique, everything, you're never going to be 100% what you were. Is he going to be is he going to end up like another Paul Lake and he won't be able to catch a break? I mean, I'm kind of worried a little bit with Laporte, because he came back from the injury, and a couple of games in, he was hobbling off again with another niggle, which doesn't bode well. But again, is Sane going to be that kind of player? Is he going to be able to do what he used to do? And if he wants to be that much of an arse and disrespect the club who's put him on the map, fine. But you can go for nothing, and until then, you can sit and rot. I wouldn't even give him game time in the reserves. And it's about time players started learning their place, because I don't care who you are. I mean, Rooney seemed to be that sort of player at United, thinking he was bigger than the club, dictating he wants 200 grand a week. I've heard rumours about Messi, him at Barcelona, the amount of top staff he's had basically sacked because he's had a squabble with them. Who do you think you are, mate? 100 years' time, Barcelona will still be playing. But that Barcelona will still be a club. They'll still be winning stuff. You'll be on.
Yeah. Well, you froze. NHS is frozen again. Let's see if he comes back. Are you going to come back? This one's taking a while. Yeah, there he is. Again.
There we go. Bloody Wi-Fi. But yeah, Stanley Matthews at Blackpool. He's not bigger than the club. He did all sorts of stuff for them in the 50s and 60s. But Blackpool are still going. I don't care who you are, manager, footballer, anyone. No one is bigger than the club. Because to me, the biggest thing at any club, professional, amateur, international, the biggest thing at any club is the fans.
Agreed.
If you haven't got the fans, you haven't got a club. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about fans that follow a player. I mean, you do have the sort of players that just attract a crowd of people, and no matter which team they go to, they'll be all supporting them. But I'm talking about your hardcore head cases who'll quite happily sit there in the open air, pissing rain, soggy pie, the bloody complimentary cagoule on a Tuesday night. You know, I remember being at the Otter Windshield bloody trophy against Mansfield Town when Tommy Wright let a couple in.
Yeah.
You know, they're the fans. They are what make the club. That's why it's gone from an amateur game in the 1800s to a professional sport.
Exactly.
People want to pay money to see it.
Yeah.
And there's not a single person in the world who could play for a team or manage a team or even own a team who is bigger than that club. And it's about time it bloody well stops. And I must admit, I think City, for the most part, I think City have dealt with players like that quite well in the past. I mean, Tevez, I know we had his little spat with Mancini, but 6 months later, he came back and look at the job he did for us.
Oh, he won us the title.
Yeah. Yaya Toure. His agent kicking off a big fuss because we didn't buy him a fancy car for his birthday, or we didn't even get him a cake or something like that. We were like, shut the fuck up. Next minute, Yaya Toure's offering apologies.
Yeah.
You know, we put the players in the position. They've got to remember who they're playing for. And again, look at what Yaya Toure did for us. You know, he's up there with Vinny and Sergio in my eyes.
Yeah.
So we have done well, I think, in terms of the egos at City. I honestly think Balotelli was kind of subdued to some degree. But like I said, if Sané wants to go, that's fine. But we need at least 100 million for a player of his ability and caliber. And the minute he's fit to play, we've got to take the money. 100 million. If it's anything less, then we want a player in return.
That's exactly what I was saying before. You know, we know that Pep's a huge fan of David Alaba. I think he brought him to Bayern Munich, actually. And, you know, that's what I was saying, that, all right, well, do a deal. Stop letting Bayern Munich hold all the cards here, because we're the ones who've got the player who they want. So you turn around to them and say, all right, well, we'll give you Zane, but we want Alaba and 10 million. I don't think they think things through properly. I think they just go ahead and see the dollar signs and go, okay, right, we're getting some money for him, and that's fine, and we've got him off the wage bill, and you know, and we can move on. And I want them to be more strategic in their thinking about it. You know, if we're going, you know, that's what I was saying about Cancelo going to Barcelona. Well, all right, you can have him, but we might want Semedo, but hey, wouldn't mind taking a look at PK. Hey, Lionel Messi's coming towards the end of his career. All right, we'll give you Cancelo, and we'll give you some money. Can we have Messi? And I'm not saying that would ever happen. I'm just saying, why do we never kind of give any options with these things? Why is it always just, we'll sell you him for a really low amount of money and move on? Like, we know there's 3 or 4 players at Bayern Munich who Pep Guardiola brought in who he would like at City. So why aren't we trying to structure a deal where you can have Zane, but we want Alaba and Hernandez, or, you know, whatever it might be?
Yeah, well, that was it. I mean, we went for Cancelo at the start of this year, and it was like, we want Cancelo. They said, yeah, okay, but we want some money and Danilo. It's the supply and demand. We wanted something. They said, you can have him if you do this, this, and this. And that's what we should be doing. Bayern Munich want to buy Sané. I think, to be honest, I don't agree with the way they've done it. I think they've been doing a lot of tapping up in the media with the way it's been broadcast everywhere, and the behaviour of Bayern Munich towards him. In some regard, I also think it's quite comical, because Bayern Munich are one of the clubs that are always having a go at City for the financial fair play.
Yeah.
And yet they're doing this with City. Well, no, if you want a player, if you want to buy one of our players, you've got to put the money up. We need to understand City are the ones in the driving seat with this deal. You know,
exactly.
I mean, again, if it doesn't go through, is Sané going to be happy just sat doing nothing, or is he going to still want to impress and say, no, look at what I can do, because he'll still want to play for Germany in the Euros. So he's not going to want to be sat doing nothing. If he gets a chance in the first team, he's not going to want to faff about just because he's not got the deal he wanted.
Agreed.
And you never know. 6 months down the line, he might be, actually, I enjoy this. You know? And stranger things have happened. But, I mean...
Yeah. I would love Zane to stay. I think he's a wonderful player. But I want his attitude to be right. You know, I've only ever wanted players at City who love the club and play for the shirt. You know, I listened to that Colin Hendry interview again today, and my God, you know, for a player of his caliber who was at City for 3 seasons, the love he has for our club.
Yeah.
Went to Blackburn and became a Premier League winner. You know, Rangers, you know, he won trophies there as well. You know, Scotland international, played, you know, obviously against, you know, England and the infamous Gaza goal.
Mm-hmm.
He just, you know, Tom asked him, you know, favourite time as a player. He just couldn't say anything better about City and to what you were saying before, Chris, about fans. And, you know, he loved the fans, loved just playing for that club. And my God, how much would I love 11 Colin Hendrys playing for City? Because they don't have to be the most skillful in the world, but if they've got a bit of heart about them and actually pride in playing for that shirt, I'm all for that. I would much prefer to watch that. I actually kind of said afterwards as well that I want these kind of players. You know, we talk about Zabaleta coming back in a coaching capacity. Yeah, because he loves City. From what I heard on that Colin Hendry interview, how much would you like Colin Hendry back at City? You know, with the youngsters or even with our current central defenders, someone who absolutely loves the club, wants to keep being involved in football, and could actually probably imagine Colin Hendry working with someone like John Stones. As John Stones has got the footballing ability, we all kind of know that. Defensively, not so great.
Yeah, he's lost his mentality a bit, I think, John Stones.
Yeah.
It's I think, confidence. And it all seems to have been since that incident with his personal life. I know his wife had kicked him out during the season for playing away, should we say.
He was playing away from home, wasn't he, I think?
He was, yeah. But that seems to have knocked him a bit. And we know he's got what it takes to be at the top level. I mean, everyone remembers the goal line clearance against Liverpool last season. He was throwing his body on the line. He was doing well. He was coming on leaps and bounds, and then it just all sort of fell apart. And he needs someone to just sit him down, give him a slap, and say, "Oi, stop being soft. You're better than this. Pull your socks up, crack on." And I think someone like Colin Hendry is that tough love kind of character, and he would be fantastic with our current squad. I think Vincent Kompany should come back as well. I'd love to see Vincent Kompany step into where Arteta left, because he's gone to Anderlecht. It's kind of fell apart there for him, bless. But he's got it in him.
Oh, he really? I'd be absolutely fine with that. But what I'm hearing right now is it's going to be Xabi Alonso, which I would actually have no problem with either.
No.
But I think, and I've said this several weeks ago on the podcast, so you've watched some of All or Nothing now, right? And you've seen this relationship that Arteta seems to have with Sterling. I really believe that this downturn with Sterling this season is when Arteta left, and he seemed to be the coach who was able to get his arm around Sterling and get the most out of him. I think Pep Guardiola just gets so exasperated and furious when something doesn't go right, and a lot of players that doesn't work for. And it's just seemed to me that Arteta was the calming influence piece of Pep Guardiola, and that's, you know, I think you can kind of go back to, you know, Sterling and probably, you know, Jamaican roots, probably a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
Probably liked like Arteta, that arm around his shoulder, and you're doing better, you're doing better. And maybe Xabi Alonso is that kind of person. I don't think Sterling's going to flourish with the way Pep coaches, but I think with a more reserved character like an Arteta, or hopefully a Xabi Alonso, or a company, to your point, Chris, can probably get the most out of Sterling. And we were talking about 12 months ago a £200 million player in Sterling. We'll be lucky to get 100 million now, but I still feel with the right influence on him, we can get him back up. I don't mind if he wants to play for Real Madrid one day. I don't mind. I wouldn't. If any player wanted to go and play for Real Madrid or Barca, I wouldn't stop them, because that's every professional player's dream. But Raheem Sterling needs to be reminded that he's only going to get to that if he gets back to the form he was playing. And I think Pep Guardiola's in desperation of a number 2. I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, it's like Matt Manaman at Liverpool. He was a massive Liverpool fan, did well for the club, did well for England. He went to Real Madrid. Like you said, it's where Zidane went, Figo, all these, Barcelona, Real Madrid. The Galacticos. It's where you want to be as a footballer, the pinnacle of the game.
Yeah,
and I totally agree. Just because he says he wants to play for Real Madrid, you can't have a go for the guy for that. You can't be saying, "Oh, he doesn't want to play for City anymore." It's a different kind of career aspiration. It's not like saying, "Oh, well, I want to go to Juventus."
Yeah.
No disrespect to Juventus, but I honestly believe City are at least on par with them at the minute in terms of what we're achieving. But going back to the Arteta point, I can see my dad now telling me about Malcolm Allison and Joe Mercer, and I think it was that kind of thing, because he always said that Joe Mercer, I know he picked the team, but my dad always said it was Malcolm Allison who dealt with the players.
Yeah,
I think that's what we had with Arteta. And if you look now, you've put Arteta in the number 1 spot. You've given him the top chair, and it's not quite clicking for him.
No, it's too much to do.
Every City fan knows what happened with Malcolm Allison when he had the reins. It didn't quite click.
No.
So some people are just born to be. I don't like saying number 2 because it sounds. It's either a bit degrading in some respects, or it's a bit Austin Powers. But some people are designed to be just that. Like you said, the calming influence. The one who's going to put his arm around someone and say, "Look, you can do this, you can do that." More of a man manager, whereas others are designed to be at the top and this is what I want.
Well, it's funny that if you go back to Colin Hendry's interview last week as well, he basically said the same thing, that I think Tom asked him, his favorite ever coach, and he actually started talking about Kenny Dalglish, and he said Kenny Dalglish said on the first day of the new season, or when they turned up for pre-season training or something, and said, "I'm not a coach. I'm not going to coach you anything. I'm here to manage you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let the coaches do the thing. They'll talk to me. I'll set out the strategy and the game plan for Saturday. And, and if I need to come and put an arm around you, Colin, or, whoever else, during the week, then I'll do that. But I'm not a coach, I'm a manager." And I found that fascinating. And that was, and he kind of said as well, he talked about Ferguson, and Ferguson early days was doing everything at United. And that's maybe why it took them several years to be successful.
Yeah.
But when he kind of stepped away a little bit and brought more coaches in, "All right, guys, you coach. I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to watch everything, have a clear picture of what's going on, and then I'll put my team out for Saturday." And I think that's how it worked a little bit with Guardiola and Arteta. And I really think that's what Guardiola's missing, that he's having to do everything rather than being able to step back a little bit.
Yeah, it's always an opinion I've kind of had, that to be a quality football manager, you don't have to have ever been a professional, or you don't have to be a coach or anything like that. You have to be what it says on the tin, a manager. Because at the end of the day, you could literally put 25 names. You could put the whole registered City squad in a hat, pull 11 names out, and say, right, there's your first team. They'll sort themselves out. Some of these, they've been kicking a ball around since they were 1 year old, since they were standing. It's naturally gifted. You cannot. I don't think there's anyone who can go to Sergio Aguero and tell him how to score a goal.
Mm-hmm.
He just look at you and in Spanish he'd just tell you to F off because he knows what to do. And every player in the Premier League, I know a lad who plays for Halifax. He knows how to play football. He's played in Europe. He knows what he's doing. You don't need to tell him how to play the game or what to do in a game.
Mm-hmm.
You need to manage him as an individual. You need to be able to get the best out of him and motivate a player to want to do his best and achieve things he didn't think he could do.
Yeah.
And anyone can do that. You just have to be good at doing it. Ferguson was incredible at doing it.
Yeah.
Pep, I think he's got the technical, like the tactical side of that. He can motivate people and say, look, this is how I want you to play in a certain style as a collective group. But I think there's something lacking in terms of his interpersonal skills. I think some of them don't, some of them are quite mature players. They're big and hard and it's water off a duck's back. Players like Sterling and Stones, they're very susceptible to media criticism.
Yeah.
They're in the spotlight a lot. They need a little cuddle. That to me is how it is. They just need a pat on the back and say, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
To be honest, find me somebody who doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether you're in a hospital, a teaching, no matter where you work, whether you're stacking shelves in Asda, pumping gas at a gas station, everyone needs managing to some degree. So,
agreed. Well, and we need, the other bit, and I know we're running out of time here. We're almost at an hour, but I think on top of that, and we've talked about this many times as well, the other bit that we're really missing is that leader. And so we were talking earlier today about, I was on the podcast with Slam Dunk with Steve and Dan, and a name that popped up as a potential transfer for us is Bonucci. And I would love a player like Bonucci at City for a couple of years for so many aspects. Number one, his influence on the younger players. Number two, his influence on the other central defenders, Garcia, Stones, who could learn so much from him. And thirdly, for me, as a biggie, my God, the voice that he would have in the dressing room. This is a World Cup winner. He's been there and done that. He's got 114 caps for Italy. 114. Like I would love a player. I think we've missed that so much. I would love a player like that at City who can, probably he would be the one who turns around to Pep, who you were just saying and say, freaking hell, Raheem's he's struggling a little bit, Pep. You need to get your arm around him. You need to go and I see that the Vincent Companies, or a Bonucci, were the ones who would go to Pep and say, hey, we've got a couple of players here who are struggling. They need motivating. You need to give them a call. Give them a call, tonight. Take them round a Chinese takeaway, and have a sit down and have a chat with them. Like, do something. And I don't think David Silva, is probably going to do that. And I feel that we're missing that. And I think if we could bring in a strong number two, someone with experience as a leader in centre half, and Bonucci would be perfect for me. I think we could. I think that would help Pep, and I think that would help the team as well.
Yeah, I think we touched on another name to that as well. I know you've mentioned it, Piqué.
Yeah,
I mean, he's homegrown as well. He was at United for long enough to qualify for that. So if you have to tick boxes like that, and I know he is a United fan, and I know he's quite happy in Barcelona, but if he could, if he was to be prized away from Barca, I think he'd come to City, and I think he'd be a very professional player.
And look who he's worked under and was the most successful. Lo and behold, Pep Guardiola. We should be using him as a draw.
Yeah.
And now people want to play for him. Most of the best players in the world want to play for him. And
it's like what happened with Kevin Keegan. Look at what happened when we had Kevin Keegan in charge. The players he could draw to the club. Pep should be doing the same. Get some of his old pals in. You know.
Well, and that's really what we're lacking right now, isn't it? Right? We've all said that there's no real voices in the dressing room now since Company left. I mean, yeah, we've got some well-established players there. De Bruyne, in particular, stands out. But having that leader, bringing a Lewandowski, for instance, from Bayern Munich, who's been there and done it. A PK from Barcelona. Yes, they're a bit older. They're in the 30s. But to have that effect in the dressing room, I think we're really missing. Or a Bonucci. The list goes on of, these 32, 33-year-old players, been there, done it, and would actually, they're coming for one last swan song at City. They want to win a couple more trophies. And they're going to have that bloody spirit like Vincent Kompany used to do every game. So
yeah.
Well, we're at an hour and 1 minute, and we're going to have Tom to edit this, I think. Well, anything else to add, Chris?
I'll tell you what. Just a quick question, then.
Yeah.
There's 4 players that we have made a profit on.
Okay.
Since the takeover.
So I know Boateng.
Boateng was one. Yeah. Who's the other 3?
And I would love to know who the other 3 are. I was actually going to ask you during this podcast.
Okay, so if I told you one's now playing for Everton.
One's now playing for Everton. Oh, so Delph. We made money on Delph. How much did we make? $1 million?
550,000 we made on him. We bought him for 8 million, sold him for just over 8.5.
All right. So Delph.
There's Alvaro Negredo.
We made money on the beast. Really?
We made 5.2 million on him. He was our biggest profit.
That's a decent deal.
And do you know who the first player we bought and sold for profit? He's I think he's just been released from jail. I could be wrong. The cradle snatcher himself, Adam Johnson.
We made money on him.
Sold him for 11.34 million. We only bought him for 8.
I thought we bought Johnson for 12, but yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, such a shame that he's a decent player. So when I'll tell you this very, very quickly before we end this. So when they were out here, so it's 10 years ago now. It was July 2010. Where Manchester City were all out here with Mancini for pre-season training at the Nike headquarters. So this was the times of, Bellamy and Hart, and they just signed Kolarov while they were here, but he didn't make it out here. So I got chatting to Craig Bellamy, and Craig Bellamy said that Adam Johnson in that squad, in that City squad, was one of the most talented players that he'd ever seen. Because it was so funny. A lot of the fans were kind of going to Bellamy, "Oh, you're great, you're great, you're great," and Bellamy was like, "I'm nothing compared to this guy. This guy is something else." And it's just such a shame, isn't it? I mean, this really happened at City, that he didn't go to that next level. He didn't do. We've never really seen another Ronaldo who was able. I'm giving Dan Fielden some kudos here, which I hate doing, but Ronaldo knew he was a good player, but knew if he wanted to go to that next level, he needed to put in another, 50% effort.
Yeah.
And we've had 2 or 3 players like that at City. Johnson, in my opinion, being one of them, who just had all the ability in the world, and you wanted him to kick on, and he just didn't seem to be bothered. And you just think as a fan and someone who would die to wear that blue shirt, if you had that opportunity, you would do everything to get to that next level, wouldn't you? And it's so funny that I guess a lot of players, they're like, well, I've reached the Premier League. I've won. Johnson had won the FA Cup, right?
Yeah, I thought he won the Premier League as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, well, I'm good.
Happy now. I'm in the England squad.
Yeah,
he's too complacent.
Yeah,
too content rather than pressing on.
It's a shame. Right, I will.
Yeah.
I'll let Tom do his editing because, an hour and 5 minutes we've done.
Yeah, it was a quick podcast. That's all.
There you go. Well, we'll get this posted. We want people's opinions on this. That this is mine and Chris's opinion. We think we need to be better. We need to go with a strategy when we're doing sales transfers, and we want to know what fans think about that as well. We might be, give us another idea of how we're supposed to maximize the value of our players who we're going to sell, basically. Because me and Chris don't have the answer, but we like complaining about it.
Yeah, and if you don't think there is any issue, if you don't think there is a strategy, probably the best idea I would say is club together. If we could buy one of players from City, I'm sure we could then sell him on for a profit.
That's a brilliant idea.
There's a business venture. If we can get all the season ticket holders to chip in a couple of quid, and let's go shopping.
That's a brilliant idea. I love it.
every cloud. I'm a City fan, and we all know every cloud does have a silver lining.
There you go.
So anyway,
well, I hope you've enjoyed this, everyone who gets through the hour anyway. I've enjoyed it. All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk on Monday, I think, the next one.
Monday should be the next, yeah.
All right.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Care. All right. City till we die.
Thanks for listening to the Manchester is Blue show. If you like what you hear, we would really appreciate it if you shared this with your friends, or even go the extra mile and head over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe and review the show. The podcast link is in the show notes. Your support and positive reviews go a huge way to increasing our visibility to City fans just like you everywhere. Don't forget, you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter.